What's up, guys? Welcome back to Detroit EFL. Should you learn idioms and slang? Well, I'm going to discuss the pros and cons of each one. First of all, there's no right answer. Here's some things to think about, though, whether or not you want to pursue learning a lot of slang and idioms. This is the dictionary definition of slang. You can read it if you want. Probably you won't understand it. It's kind of difficult for English learners. What's that mean? So basically, slang's informal, casual. It's usually spoken, not written. It only works in certain groups of people. What I mean by certain groups of people is that African Americans, for example, have their own slang that a lot of white people don't understand. And certainly teenagers have their own language that a lot of adults don't understand. So that's what that means. That's why it's not always so useful to spend time learning it. If you're learning English in a non-English speaking country, which is called EFL, then I don't think slang is very useful for you at all, unless you want to study and watch American media. This is also true for idioms. However, if your English is already intermediate to advanced or more, then learning slang and idioms is a good idea. An idiom, you probably know this, but it's a phrase that doesn't make much sense unless you know the meaning of it. For example, see the light or rain, cats, and dogs. I taught idioms for a lot more than 10 years. Mostly it was a waste of time for the students, I think. Some wanted to learn it, some didn't. The problem is with idioms is you have to say them exactly right. Otherwise, people won't understand you. Even one small word wrong, you won't be understood. And I noticed my students never got them right. Now, the problem is that you probably won't use them ever unless you live in an English-speaking country. Like if you're in Korea, you're never going to use it. However, some idioms are very useful. But this depends on the industry. For example, if you work in business, some idioms you have to know, like play hardball, get the upper hand, etc. And I'll be teaching some of these in other lessons. So again, sometimes it's very useful. And the last problem with idioms is that a lot of them are just old and nobody ever says them anymore. An example is, it's raining cats and dogs. Don't say it, nobody says it. Except my dad, who's like 75. Here's a great tip for you to see if idioms are still being used. I came up with this myself, it's ingenious, okay? Genius. News.google.com. Type it in, go to the search bar. Type in the idiom, and then see. Are people using it in newspapers? Here's what comes up when I type in play hardball. I did this yesterday. So a whole bunch of things came up in Google News. Belarus policy, time to play hardball. We got Yahoo News, we got New York Times. If you see New York Times or other big publications using these idioms in their headlines, then definitely they're worth learning, especially if you read news. So one of them is NFL owners preparing to play hardball with players. So go ahead and read these and seriously give this a try. Okay, so to recap, learning slang is fine if your English is intermediate level and you may use it in a certain field, for example, comedy, sports, or in business. The same is true for idioms, exactly the same is true. Learn them if your English is good, and you need to understand them because of your job or your hobbies, especially if you're in business, you need it. Alright, go try my little trick, let me know how it works. Catch you later.